trips to India, as First Lady and as Senator, publicly and privately. But this was the first trip there as US Secretary of State. But did it mark a shift in US policy towards India and the region consequently? Welcome to Eye the Storm. I'm Amba Shamsi.
And I'm Wajahat Ali. This week on the show, we'll be separating the rhetoric from the facts. The key word is dehyphenation. We'll try to explain what it means as we go along. But first, let's take a look at the highlights.
Times, they have changed.
On again, off again.
They call it dehyphenation.
The political view
and a diplomat, a general, and a cup of tea. Let's start backwards. Hillary Clinton's first stop was Mumbai. She stayed at the Taj Hotel, which was a major site of the terrorist attacks last year. She met business leaders and visited a women's NGO. This was all before she went to the capital, New Delhi.
It signals how alliances change with the needs of the times. Our correspondent Umar Daraz gives an overview of the Indo-US relationship.
It took the US Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, 3 days to finally meet the Indian political leadership on her recent 5-day visit to India. One wonders why. Most of her time was spent promoting what she called citizen diplomacy. More people-to-people contact beyond the formal meetings of the official representatives of India and the US. The first visit by a top official from Obama administration to India began with meetings with the private sector leaders.
Private sector in India is far more stronger and robust than the private sector here, and that's why you see that Hillary Clinton gave greater time to the private sector. In fact, concentrated more on the private sector than than the political government.
Many experts believe that Hillary Clinton enjoys a well-established reputation as a friend of India. It was Hillary who founded an Indian caucus in the upper house of the US Congress after her election as senator. She was also firm in her support for the controversial Indo-US nuclear deal when most leaders of the Democratic Party's foreign policy establishment were rallying against it. But the analysts believe that the change in Indo-US relations after the Cold War were not derived from Hillary's friendly relations with India. The real change in the Indo-US relations occurred during the unipolar world order after the Cold War, when India decided to open up to the outer world. While India is still in the process of opening itself up, both US and India are trying to develop a more durable and sustainable level of trust between them.
United States now is looking at a multipolar world, and in this multipolar world, India is seen as a country which could play a significant role.
During her visit, Hillary also signed an agreement with the Indian government on military equipment sale. The agreement will allow American military contractors to sell India advanced weapons, including a proposed deal for 126 fighter jets. But experts believe defense cooperation is just a small aspect of a more composite framework of relationship between the US and India, which includes social as well as cultural exchanges. Experts say in order to get a counterweight to China, the US wants India to emerge as a regional power, and it seems India has finally decided to grab the opportunity. Umar Daraz, Dawn News.
Whereas the American relationship with India has evolved over a passage of time, its relationship with Pakistan has always been based on specific needs.
Analysts call it transactional. In the following report, we'll see how that has not changed regardless of US rhetoric.
On, off, on, off. For more than 60 years, the relationship between Pakistan and the United States has been like the electricity in the country. It comes and goes, mostly because strategic and military interests on both sides has determined the contours rather than a broad-based connection.
We expected more from Pakistan, and Pakistan expected more from us than either side was going to be able to give. So I think it has to be put on an open and honest footing rather than relying on mythology and demonology, which both played a role in the relationship.
Just after independence, when Pakistan was a new and under-resourced state, its insecurities led it to seek a kind of protection from the United States. Pakistan was the only country which was a signatory to 2 military pacts with the US, a sign of its desperate need for military support and American economic and military aid, which it received in large amounts during the Ayub years. But relations between the two countries soured subsequently. Pakistan did not receive the military support it wanted from the US during its wars with India in 1965 and 1971. Meanwhile, India officially took a different, non-aligned path during the Cold War, tipping nonetheless towards the Soviet Union. The end of the Cold War meant different things to the two neighbors. While India gradually reached out to the US, Pakistan was left in the cold. Dependent as its economy is on aid, it felt the pinch of the lack of US interest in the region. Pakistan had received billions of dollars while it was a conduit between the US and Afghan Mujahideen recruited to fight the Soviets. When the Soviets left, however, all military assistance and new economic aid was suspended as punishment for its nuclear program. And with the 1999 coup, a further layer of sanctions were imposed. The US-Pakistan relationship blossomed again after 9/11 when Pakistan became a frontline state in the war against terror. Yet again, the United States threw billions of dollars in aid at the country.
I think it's based in the short run on security and military needs, but in the long run, I think there's a growing relationship here, a growing realization here, and perhaps in Pakistan, that the integrity of Pakistan itself is an important American interest. In other words, most Americans are now looking beyond the question of Taliban or Al-Qaeda, where Pakistan obviously plays a role, to the question of Pakistan's integrity as a state.
Under US President Barack Obama, Washington has said it will invest more in the people of Pakistan rather than put its eggs in one basket, as the Bush administration did by supporting former President Pervez Musharraf. Indeed, the American tendency has been to prop up Pakistan's military dictators for strategic interests. Now the US says it wants to strengthen democratic institutions. The renewed push against the Taliban in Afghanistan and their brothers-in-arms in Pakistan's northwest has meant renewed US notice. But will a more comprehensive relationship develop from this military goal?
China, India, Afghanistan and Pakistan. How the US is connecting the dots after the short break.